The morning shift on Luna Command started like any other day. Captain Hyunwoo Park sipped his coffee and watched the Earth turn slowly below them. The blue planet looked peaceful from this distance. No signs of the busy cities or the millions of people going about their daily lives. Then the alarm started screaming. "Captain!" Sergeant Minho called from his station. "We have massive energy signatures appearing at the edge of the solar system." Hyunwoo set down his coffee and walked quickly to the main display. What he saw made him pause. Ships. Hundreds of them. No, thousands. They appeared out of nowhere like someone had turned on a giant light switch in the darkness of space. "How many?" he asked. "Counting now, sir. Over 3,000 vessels." They're huge, Captain. Some of them are the size of small cities." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of computers. Everyone stared at the display. The alien fleet hung at the edge of their solar system like a storm cloud ready to break. "Any communication attempts?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes, sir. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Standard first contact protocols. Put it through." The main screen changed. Instead of the view of the alien fleet, a figure appeared. It looked almost human, but wrong. Too tall, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow. When it spoke, its voice was cold and proud. "Greetings, primitive species of the third planet. I am Ambassador Velthar of the Galactic Council Dominion. You exist at the pleasure of the Council, and that pleasure has come to an end." Hyunwoo raised an eyebrow. This alien had terrible manners. "Your species has reached the level where you threaten the natural order of the galaxy. The Council has decided that you must surrender immediately. You have exactly 72 of your planet's hours to give up all weapons, all military forces, and all spacefaring technology. You will then be relocated to designated planets where you can live peacefully under Council guidance." The alien paused, as if waiting for some kind of response. When none came, it continued. "Do not think to resist. The fleet you see represents 12 species and over 50,000 years of galactic civilization. We have conquered more than 400 worlds. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Your small minds cannot understand our technology. Surrender now, and some of your people may be allowed to live." The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet again. Hyunwoo looked around at his crew. They all stared back at him, waiting for orders. He could see fear in some faces, confusion in others, but mostly he saw the same thing he felt building in his own chest. He started to chuckle. "Sir?" Minho asked, confused. The chuckle became a laugh. Not a nervous laugh or a crazy laugh. A genuine, amused laugh. The kind someone makes when they hear a really good joke. "Captain, are you okay?" asked Lieutenant Soo-jin from the communication station. "Oh, I'm fine," Hyunwoo said, wiping his eyes. Did you hear what he said? 72 hours? They're giving us 72 hours? He walked over to his command chair and pressed a button. "Luna Command to Earth Central. Priority Alpha." A new voice came through the speakers. "Earth Central here. We saw the whole thing, Hyunwoo. General So-min wants to speak with you." The screen changed again. This time it showed a woman in a military uniform sitting behind a desk. General So-min Lee looked tired, but her eyes were bright with something that might have been excitement. "Captain Park," she said, "I assume you found that transmission as amusing as we did?" "Yes, ma'am." 72 hours. They actually gave us 72 hours. "I know. Admiral Jinho is reviewing their fleet composition now. He says it's impressive, but nothing we haven't planned for." On the bridge, Sergeant Minho looked confused. "Sir, I don't understand. Why is everyone laughing? That's the biggest military force in human history sitting out there." Hyunwoo turned to his crew. These were good people. They had served with him for 3 years. They deserved to know what was going on. "Minho, how long have you been stationed on Luna Command?" 2 years, sir. "And in those 2 years, have you ever wondered why we have so many deep space sensors? Why we monitor every piece of space junk bigger than a baseball? Why we track every asteroid, every comet, every bit of ice floating around out there?" Minho thought about it. I assumed it was for safety, to prevent collisions with Earth or the space stations. That's what we told everyone. But the real reason is that we've been waiting for them." Hyunwoo pointed at the display showing the alien fleet. "We've known they were coming for a very long time." Lieutenant Soo-jin leaned forward. "Sir, how could we know? This is first contact, isn't it?" General So-min's voice came through the speakers again. "No, Lieutenant. This is first official contact. We've known about the Galactic Council for 30 years. The bridge crew exchanged shocked looks. Hyunwoo could see the questions forming in their minds, but he held up a hand. I know you have a million questions, but right now we have work to do. We need to prepare our response to Ambassador Velthar's kind offer. What kind of response, sir? Minho asked. Hyunwoo smiled. It was not a nice smile. The kind that explains why giving humanity 72 hours to prepare was the biggest mistake the Galactic Council has ever made. General So-min laughed from Earth. Captain, please prepare a formal response. Standard diplomatic language. Tell them we appreciate their generous offer, but we must politely decline. Just that, ma'am? Well, you can add that if they want Earth, they're welcome to come and take it. If they think they can. The crew stared at their captain. He was still smiling that dangerous smile. You heard the general. Lieutenant Sujin, prepare a transmission. Let's be very polite about this. As his crew scrambled to work, Hyunwoo looked out at the distant alien fleet. 3,000 ships, 50,000 years of galactic civilization, the power to destroy planets, and they had given humanity 72 hours to get ready. He started laughing again. He couldn't help it. After 30 years of preparation, 30 years of building and planning and waiting, the enemy had finally arrived. And their first move was to give humanity time to finish getting ready. The aliens thought they were being generous. They thought they were showing mercy to a primitive species. They had no idea what they had just done. Ambassador Velthar stood in the command center of his flagship, staring at the response from Earth. The message played again on the main screen. A human female in military uniform spoke with calm, polite words. We thank the Galactic Council for their generous offer. However, we must respectfully decline. Earth and humanity will remain independent. If the Council wishes to take our world, they are welcome to try. The message ended. Velthar's pale blue skin darkened with anger. Try? He repeated. They dare to suggest we would have difficulty with this primitive world? General Click stepped forward. The insectoid alien's forearms clicked against his armor. Ambassador, perhaps they do not understand the situation. Their information networks are limited. They may not realize the size of our fleet. Or, said Admiral Zephyra, her crystalline body reflecting the lights of the command center, they are simply too stupid to understand what we are offering them. Velthar considered this. In 50,000 years, the Galactic Council had never encountered a species that refused their first ultimatum. Usually, primitive worlds surrendered immediately when they saw the fleet. Sometimes they tried to negotiate. But never had they simply said no. Show me their military capabilities again, he ordered. The display changed to show Earth and its surrounding space. Data scrolled across the screen. Population, 8 billion. Technology level, early spaceflight, weapons, kinetic projectiles, primitive missiles, basic nuclear devices, defensive systems, none detected beyond atmospheric fighters. They have some space stations, General Clix observed. Luna Command, Mars Colony, asteroid mining operations, nothing that poses a threat. Their largest warship is barely 200 meters long, Admiral Zephyra added. Our fighters are larger than that. Velthar studied the data. By every measure, Earth should be helpless. Their weapons could not penetrate Council shields. Their ships moved slowly compared to Council vessels. They had no energy weapons, no plasma cannons, no quantum disruptors. Perhaps, he said slowly, they need a demonstration. The other commanders looked at him with interest. General Clix, prepare a squadron, 200 ships, target their largest cities. We will give them one chance to see what real power looks like. Should we destroy the cities completely? Clix asked. No. Just damage them enough to show these humans what we can do. When they see their primitive defenses fail, they will surrender quickly. Admiral Zephyra's crystalline face showed approval. A wise strategy, Ambassador. Once they understand the futility of resistance, they will be much easier to manage. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Yoonji Choi sat in the Deep Space Observation Array, watching the alien fleet through the most powerful telescopes humanity had ever built. She spoke quietly into her headset. Commander Yoon, they're moving. 200 ships breaking off from the main fleet. Commander Tae Ho Yoon's voice came back steady and calm. I see them, Doctor. Vector analysis shows they're heading straight for Earth. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Are you concerned? Yoonji asked. Tejo actually chuckled. Doctor, I've been waiting for this moment for 15 years. I'm not concerned. I'm excited. Yunji smiled. She understood that feeling. As a child, she had dreamed of meeting aliens. Now they were here, and instead of coming in peace, they came with threats and demands. It was almost disappointing. Should I activate the early warning systems? She asked. Not yet. Let them get closer. We want good readings on their technology before we show our hand. 6 hours later, the alien squadron entered Earth's orbit. The ships were massive and beautiful in their own way. They looked like silver teardrops, covered in strange patterns that seemed to shift and move. Energy crackled around their hulls as their weapons charged. In the command center of the lead alien ship, Squadron Leader Mortok prepared to fire. The humans below had shown no response to their arrival. No fighters launched, no defensive systems activated, no communication attempts. Foolish creatures, he muttered. They cannot even see their own doom approaching. He selected his targets: New York, London, Tokyo, Seoul, Moscow. 5 cities spread across the planet. The destruction would be visible from space. The humans would have no choice but to surrender. All ships prepare to fire on my command, he ordered. The energy readings on his ships climbed higher. Plasma cannons charged to full power. The targeting systems locked onto the cities below. Fire. 200 ships opened fire at once. Brilliant beams of energy lanced down toward Earth's surface. The aliens watched their displays, waiting to see the destruction bloom across the planet's face. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy beams struck something in space, high above Earth's atmosphere. Massive explosions lit up the darkness, but not on the planet's surface. The beams had hit some kind of barrier, some kind of shield that the aliens could not see. What? Squadron Leader Mortok stared at his readings. What did we just hit? His sensor officer's voice was confused and frightened. Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures. They're everywhere. All around us. That's impossible. Our sensors showed empty space. Sir, I think they're decloaking. The space around Earth began to shimmer. Like heat waves rising from hot pavement, the empty darkness seemed to bend and twist. Then one by one, objects began to appear. Space stations. Hundreds of them. Each one larger than anything in the alien squadron. Weapon platforms bristling with devices the aliens did not recognize. Defensive satellites that hummed with power. And ships. So many ships. Squadron Leader Mortok watched in growing horror as humanity's true fleet revealed itself. Sleek vessels that moved like living things. Massive battleships that dwarfed his own vessels. Carriers that launched swarms of fighters too fast for his eyes to follow. How many? He whispered. Sir, I count over 2,000 vessels. And they're still appearing. The largest ship moved toward the alien squadron. It was a kilometer long, covered in armor that seemed to absorb light. Weapons ports opened along its hull like eyes opening in the darkness. A transmission came through, a human voice speaking perfect galactic standard. Alien Squadron, this is Admiral Sun Hee Kang of the United Earth Forces. You have entered our space without permission and fired upon our world. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded, or we will consider you hostile. Squadron Leader Mortok's hand shook as he reached for his communication controls. This was not supposed to happen. Earth was supposed to be helpless, primitive, weak. Admiral, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. There has been a misunderstanding. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We demand you stand down immediately. I'm sorry, came the reply, but you're in no position to demand anything. You're surrounded, outgunned, and in violation of Sol system sovereignty. You have 30 seconds to surrender. Back on the flagship of the main alien fleet, Ambassador Velthar watched in disbelief as his squadron found itself trapped. The humans had somehow hidden an entire fleet in their own star system. Weapons he did not recognize, technology he could not understand. How is this possible, he demanded. Our intelligence said they were primitive. General Clix's forearms moved nervously. Sir, our intelligence was based on passive observation. We may have missed some things. Missed some things. They have. Over 2,000 ships. How do you miss 2,000 ships? Admiral Zephyra studied the tactical display. Ambassador, I recommend we withdraw the squadron immediately. We need to reassess the situation. But it was too late. Space around the human fleet began to shimmer again. More ships appeared, bigger ships, and then something else began to happen. The space between the alien fleet and the edge of the solar system started to glow, a soft blue light that grew brighter and brighter. What is that? Velthar asked. His science officer's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, it appears to be some kind of interdiction field, a barrier preventing faster-than-light travel, meaning, Ambassador, that we cannot leave. The realization hit Velthar like a physical blow. They had come to conquer a primitive world. Instead, they had flown into a trap that had been 30 years in the making. And now, for the first time in the Galactic Council's long history, they were the ones who were trapped and helpless. The hunters had become the hunted. Captain Dongmin Seo stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched the alien squadron realize their mistake. The massive human battleship moved through space like a predator approaching wounded prey. Around them, the rest of the human fleet took positions, surrounding the aliens completely. Status report, Dongmin ordered. All ships in position, Captain, reported his tactical officer. The alien squadron is completely surrounded. They're trying to raise their shields, but our quantum disruptors are making that difficult. Dongmin smiled. Quantum disruptors were one of humanity's proudest achievements. While the aliens had spent thousands of years perfecting energy shields, humans had learned how to make those shields useless. The technology worked by disrupting the quantum fields that held the shields together. No shield, no protection. Any attempt to flee? He asked. Negative, sir. The interdiction field is holding perfectly. Nothing gets in or out of this system without our permission. On the alien ships, panic was spreading. Squadron leader Mortok stared at his useless shields and dead engines. His weapons still worked. But what good were weapons against an enemy that could appear and disappear at will? Sir, his communications officer reported, the main fleet is demanding a status update. Tell them... Mortok paused. What could he tell them? That the primitive humans had trapped his entire squadron? That their supposedly weak technology had made his ships helpless? Tell them we have encountered unexpected resistance. Sir, one of the human ships is approaching. They're requesting permission to board. Mortok looked at his tactical display. A small human ship was moving toward his vessel. It was tiny compared to his own ship, but somehow it felt far more dangerous. Refuse them, he ordered. Sir, they say if we refuse, they will consider it an act of war. We are already at war. No, sir, came a new voice. The human admiral was speaking directly to him again. You are not at war. You are surrounded and helpless. There is a difference. Meanwhile, in another part of the human fleet, Lieutenant Nare Huang was having the time of her life. Her fighter craft moved through space in ways that should have been impossible. Instead of rocket engines, it used gravity manipulation technology. She could change direction instantly, accelerate beyond what any normal engine could manage, and fly patterns that made enemy targeting systems useless. Blue Squadron, form up on me, she called to her pilots. Let's show these aliens how Earth flies. Her squadron moved like a flock of birds, each fighter responding to the others without any apparent communication. They wove between the alien ships just out of weapons range, demonstrating speed and agility that made the aliens dizzy to watch. Red Leader, this is Gold Squadron, came another voice over the radio. We have movement from the main alien fleet. Looks like they're trying to send reinforcements. Nare checked her tactical display. Sure enough, more alien ships were breaking away from the main fleet, heading toward Earth at high speed. Copy that, Gold Squadron. How many? 500 ships. Big ones, Nare grinned. Excellent. We were getting bored anyway. Back on the Indomitable, Captain Dongmin received the same report. 500 alien ships were approaching, probably planning to rescue their trapped squadron. Sir, his weapons officer asked, should we prepare for battle? We are prepared for battle, Dongmin replied calmly. We've been prepared for 30 years. Signal the fleet. It's time to stop playing games. Throughout the human fleet, ships that had been invisible began to appear. Weapons platforms the size of cities uncloaked near Earth's moon. Massive orbital stations revealed themselves in the asteroid belt, and from the outer planets came ships that dwarfed everything else in the system. The approaching alien reinforcement fleet suddenly found themselves facing an enemy 10 times larger than they had expected. What they thought was a small human defense force was actually the largest military fleet in galactic history. "My God," whispered the alien fleet commander as he watched more and more human ships appear. "How many of them are there?" Engineer Chang Ho Lim worked at his station deep inside one of Earth's orbital platforms. His job was to maintain the interdiction field that kept anyone from leaving the solar system. It was delicate work requiring constant adjustment and monitoring. "Chang Ho," came a voice over his headset, "we need you to expand the field. We have more guests arriving. How many more?" he asked, making calculations on his computer. "About 500 ships. They're going to be very unhappy when they realize they can't leave." Chang Ho smiled as he increased the power to the field generators. The interdiction field grew larger, encompassing the new alien ships as they entered the system. One by one, their faster-than-light engines failed. One by one, they found themselves trapped in the same cage as their comrades. "Field expanded and stable," he reported. "Nobody's going anywhere." Admiral Sun Hee Kang watched the tactical display from her command ship. The aliens had walked into the most perfect trap in military history. Not only were they outnumbered and outgunned, but they couldn't escape even if they wanted to. "Open a channel to all alien vessels," she ordered. "Channel open, Admiral." "Attention, alien fleets. This is Admiral Sun Hee Kang of the United Earth Forces. You entered our star system with hostile intent. You threatened our world and our people. You fired weapons at our planet. Under the laws of war, we would be justified in destroying you completely." She paused, letting that sink in. "However, we are not monsters. We are offering you one chance to surrender. Lower your weapons, shut down your engines, and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated as prisoners of war according to galactic conventions. This offer will not be repeated." On his flagship, Ambassador Velthar listened to the human admiral's words with growing rage. The idea that these primitive creatures would dare to offer him terms was beyond insulting. "General Clicks," he snarled, "are our weapons operational?" "Yes, Ambassador, but our shields are failing. The humans have some kind of technology that disrupts our defensive systems." "I don't care about shields. Can we fight?" Admiral Zephyr's crystalline face reflected worry. "Ambassador, we are outnumbered 5-1. Their technology appears to be more advanced than ours. Perhaps we should consider—" "I will not surrender to primitives," Velthar shouted. "Ready all weapons. If we are to die here, we will take as many of them with us as possible." The alien fleet began to charge their weapons. Energy readings climbed as plasma cannons prepared to fire. Missile tubes loaded their deadliest warheads. If they could not win, they would at least show these humans the fury of the Galactic Council. But the humans were ready for this too. Captain Dong Min watched the alien weapon signatures appear on his display. "All ships, they're charging weapons. Initiate defensive pattern Delta." What happened next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. The human fleet moved like a living thing, each ship knowing exactly where to go and what to do. Point defense systems came online, creating a wall of energy that could stop any missile. Electronic warfare ships began jamming alien targeting systems. And the human weapons, hidden until now, finally showed themselves. The first volley from the human fleet was not energy weapons or missiles. It was something the aliens had never seen before. Solid projectiles, accelerated to incredible speed by magnetic fields, struck alien ships like hammers hitting glass. Without their shields, the alien vessels had no protection against the kinetic bombardment. Ship after ship shuddered under the impact. Hulls cracked. Systems failed. In 30 seconds, the alien fleet lost over 100 vessels. "Cease fire," Admiral Sun Hee ordered. "I think we've made our point." The surviving alien ships floated helplessly in space. Their weapons were damaged, their shields were gone, and their engines were dead. They were completely at the mercy of the humans they had tried to conquer. Ambassador Velthar stared at the wreckage of his fleet with disbelief. In 50,000 years, the Galactic Council had never suffered such a complete defeat. How had this happened? How had these primitive humans become so powerful? His communication officer spoke quietly. "Sir, the humans are hailing us again." "Put them through," Velthar said, his voice barely a whisper. Admiral Sun Hee's face appeared on his screen. She looked calm and professional, not like someone who had just won the greatest military victory in galactic history. "Ambassador Velthar," she said, "I believe you have something to say to us." For a long moment, Velthar said nothing. Then slowly he spoke the words that would change the galaxy forever. We surrender. Dr. Yejin An walked through the detention center on Luna Command, studying the alien prisoners with scientific curiosity. 3 days had passed since the surrender, and humanity was learning more about their former enemies with each passing hour. The aliens were not monsters, she realized. They were just ordinary. Some seemed proud and angry, others appeared confused and frightened. A few looked almost relieved that the fighting was over. She stopped at one cell containing a mid-ranking officer from the alien fleet. According to his identification, his name was Sub-Commander Ralvin, and he had served the Galactic Council for over 200 years. "Good morning, Sub-Commander," she said in perfect galactic standard. "I'm Dr. An. I'd like to ask you some questions." Ralvin looked up at her with tired eyes. "I am required to give only my name, rank, and service number under the Galactic Conventions of War." "That's true," Yejin agreed. "But I'm not asking about military secrets. I'm trying to understand your people, your civilization. For instance, how long has the Galactic Council existed? The alien considered this. That is not military information, I suppose. The Council has maintained galactic peace for 53,000 of your years. 53,000 years. That's impressive. How many species belong to the Council? Currently? 47 species across 12,000 worlds. Yejin made notes on her tablet. And in all that time, has anyone ever refused to join the Council? Ralvin looked confused by the question. Refused? Why would anyone refuse? The Council brings order, protection, advanced technology. Life in the galaxy was chaos before the Council existed. But what if a species wanted to remain independent? What if they preferred to govern themselves? That would be illogical. Primitive species cannot govern themselves effectively. They lack the wisdom that comes from millennia of civilization. They make mistakes, start wars, destroy their own worlds. The Council prevents such disasters. Yejin nodded thoughtfully. I see, so the Council rules for the good of everyone? Of course. The Council has ended war, eliminated poverty, brought stability to the galaxy. All species benefit from Council guidance. And if a species disagrees with Council guidance? Ralvin stared at her as if she had asked why water was wet. Disagreement is not logical. The Council has 50,000 years of experience. What could a primitive species know that the Council does not? Dr. An left the detention center with a lot to think about. She made her way to the command center, where Captain Wansik Jang was preparing for a special mission. Doctor? Wansik greeted her. Perfect timing. We're about to take a look inside one of their ships. What kind of look? The kind where we learn exactly how their technology works. We've been analyzing their weapons, their engines, their computers. Want to come along? Yejin smiled. I wouldn't miss it. An hour later, they were aboard one of the captured alien vessels. The ship was impressive in size, but as they explored, Yejin began to notice something strange. Captain, she said, look at this control panel. See how worn it is? Wansik examined the alien console. You're right. This equipment looks old. Not just old. Ancient. Look at the design, the materials. This technology hasn't been updated in centuries. They moved deeper into the ship, finding the same thing everywhere. Old technology, maintained but never improved. Systems that worked but showed no signs of innovation or advancement. It's like they stopped developing new technology thousands of years ago. Wansik observed. That's exactly what happened, said a new voice. They turned to find Commander Taeho Yoon approaching. We've been analyzing their entire fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of equipment. None of it is less than 5,000 years old. Most of it is much older. How is that possible? Yejin asked. Think about it, Doctor. They've been the dominant power in the galaxy for 50,000 years. No one has challenged them. No one has forced them to innovate. They've been coasting on old technology because it was always good enough. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Myung Park was preparing to address the world. The time for secrets was over. Humanity deserved to know the truth about what had been happening for the past 30 years. She stood before the cameras in the presidential palace, looking calm despite the magnitude of what she was about to reveal. My fellow citizens of Earth, she began. 3 days ago, our world was threatened by an alien fleet that demanded our surrender. Today, that fleet sits captured in our star system. But this victory was not achieved by luck or accident. It was the result of 30 years of careful planning and preparation. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing to listen. In 1995, our deep space monitoring stations detected unusual signals from beyond our solar system. By 1998, we had confirmed the existence of an alien civilization. First contact was established in secret in 2001. The president paused, letting this sink in. For the past 24 years, we have been in limited communication with various alien species. We learned about the Galactic Council, about their methods of conquest, about their plans for humanity. We learned that we had perhaps 50 years before they would arrive to claim our world. She looked directly into the camera. So we prepared. Every space program, every military development, every technological advancement has been part of a coordinated plan. We built weapons they could not imagine. We developed technology they had never seen. We created the largest military force in galactic history, and we kept it completely hidden until the moment we needed it. On Luna Command, Captain Hyunwoo watched the president's speech with satisfaction. Finally, the truth was coming out. He thought about all the people who had worked on the secret projects over the years. Scientists who had developed new technologies, engineers who had built impossible machines, soldiers who had trained for battles they couldn't tell anyone about. The alien fleet that came to conquer us, the president continued, had no idea what they were facing. They believed Earth was a primitive world with primitive defenses. They gave us 72 hours to surrender, not realizing that they had just given us 72 hours to complete our final preparations. She smiled, and it was not entirely a nice smile. The Galactic Council has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years through intimidation and technological superiority. They have never faced serious resistance because they always chose weak targets, but they made one critical error in their calculations. What was that? A reporter called out. They underestimated humanity. They saw our public technology and assumed that was all we had. They studied our open military forces and believed those were our only defenses. They watched our peaceful space programs and thought we were harmless. President Mi-young Park stood straighter, her voice filled with pride. They forgot that humans are very good at keeping secrets when we need to. They forgot that we've been fighting wars and developing weapons for our entire history, and they never imagined that a primitive species might be smart enough to prepare for their arrival. On the captured alien flagship, Ambassador Velthar watched the human president's speech with growing horror. Everything she said was true. The council had never imagined that a species might pretend to be weak while secretly preparing for war. How? He whispered to himself. How did they know we were coming? The answer came from an unexpected source. One of his own officers, a young communications specialist, spoke up quietly. Sir, I've been analyzing our own records. We've been observing Earth for over 30 years, but, sir, I think they've been observing us too. What do you mean? Our standard procedure is to monitor primitive worlds for decades before we make contact. We send long-range probes, we intercept their communications, we study their technology. But, sir, we never hide our observations very well. We assume the primitives are too stupid to notice. The terrible truth dawned on Velthar. You mean they saw us watching them? Yes, sir. And unlike every other species we've encountered, they were smart enough to prepare for our arrival, while making us think they were still primitive. For the first time in his long life, Ambassador Velthar understood what it felt like to be completely outmaneuvered. The humans had not just defeated the Galactic Council in battle, they had defeated them in the game of intelligence and preparation. They had turned the Council's own tactics against them. The hunters had become the hunted, and the prey had been preparing for 30 years. Commander Kyung-ho Shin stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the final battle unfold across the solar system. It had been 2 weeks since the first alien surrender, but some elements of the Galactic Council fleet had chosen to keep fighting rather than accept defeat. Status report, he ordered. Sir, the last alien holdouts are gathered near Jupiter, about 300 ships. They're using the planet's gravity well as a defensive position. Kyung-ho nodded. And our forces? 2,000 ships in position, ready to engage on your command. The commander looked at the tactical display. The remaining aliens had chosen their position well. Jupiter's massive gravity made it difficult to approach, and they could use the planet's moons as cover. In the old days, this might have been a challenging battle, but these were not the old days. Signal the fleet, Kyung-ho ordered. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. Across the human fleet, ships began to move in patterns that would have seemed impossible to the aliens. Instead of approaching Jupiter directly, they used gravity manipulation technology to literally bend space around them. Ships appeared above and below the alien formation, having traveled through dimensions the aliens didn't even know existed. Colonel HFY Park led the boarding action against the alien command ship. Her marine unit used powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. They moved through the alien vessel like an unstoppable force, their advanced weapons cutting through alien defenses as if they weren't there. Deck 7 secured, she reported over the radio, moving to the bridge. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons barely scratched the human armor. Their tactics, perfected over thousands of years of fighting similar enemies, were useless against humans who fought unlike anyone they had ever faced. Bridge secured, HFY reported 15 minutes later. Alien command staff captured. Major Jae-Sung-Oh watched from his artillery platform as the battle reached its conclusion. His orbital bombardment systems could crack moons if necessary, but the humans were being careful not to destroy more than they had to. This was about winning, not genocide. All alien ships have surrendered, came the report from Fleet Command. The solar system is secure. Kyung-ho allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. In 3 weeks, humanity had gone from unknown primitives to the dominant military force in the galaxy. But the real work was just beginning. On Earth, Ambassador Yoo Jin-moon prepared for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. The surviving leaders of the Galactic Council had agreed to negotiate, but they were still struggling to understand what humanity wanted. She entered the conference room where Ambassador Velthar and his remaining staff waited. The aliens looked defeated, confused, and more than a little frightened. "Ambassador Velthar," she said politely, "thank you for agreeing to these talks." "We had little choice," Velthar replied bitterly. "You have defeated our fleet, captured our ships, and proven that you are militarily superior. What are your terms for our surrender?" Eugene smiled. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. We're not here to discuss your surrender." "Then, what?" "We're here to discuss the future of the galaxy, and that future doesn't have to include the Galactic Council as it currently exists." Velthar looked confused. "I do not understand." "You have won. By the laws of conquest, you may do with us as you wish." "That's exactly the problem," Eugene said gently. "You see the galaxy in terms of winners and losers, conquerors and conquered. But humanity sees it differently." She activated a holographic display showing the galaxy, thousands of stars, millions of worlds, countless species. For 50,000 years, the Galactic Council has maintained order through fear and force. You conquered species, enslaved them, and called it peace. But that's not really peace, is it? That's just the absence of war because everyone is too afraid to fight back. "What alternative is there?" asked Admiral Zephyra. "Without central authority, there would be chaos. Species would fight endlessly. Worlds would be destroyed, would they?" Eugene asked. "Or is that just what you've been told for so long that you believe it's true?" She changed the display to show Earth's history. Humans have fought many wars. We've made terrible mistakes, but we've also learned to cooperate, to negotiate, to find solutions that benefit everyone. We call it democracy, government by the consent of the governed. The alien delegate stared at the display as if she was showing them magic. "You mean," Velthar said slowly, "that your leaders are chosen by your people, and your people can remove them if they disagree?" "Exactly. And we think the galaxy might benefit from a similar system." "Impossible," General Clix buzzed. "Primitive species cannot govern themselves. They lack the wisdom." "With respect, General," Eugene interrupted, "your wisdom just led to the greatest military defeat in galactic history. Perhaps it's time to try something new." She changed the display again, showing a new vision of galactic civilization. "We propose a galactic federation, not a council of conquerors, but a union of equals. Each species governs itself, but all species work together on issues that affect everyone. Trade, exploration, scientific research, protection against external threats." "And who would lead this federation?" Velthar asked. "No one," Eugene said. "Everyone. Decisions would be made by representatives chosen by each species. No species would have permanent power over others." The aliens looked at each other with expressions of disbelief. "You're talking about giving up power," Admiral Zephyra said. "Humanity has proven itself the strongest military force in the galaxy. You could rule everything. Why would you choose not to?" Eugene smiled. Because ruling through fear is not really ruling at all. It's just postponing the next rebellion. We'd rather have allies than subjects. Over the following months, the Solar Accords were negotiated and signed. Not all species joined immediately. Some remained loyal to the old council. Others were too afraid to change. But many chose to try humanity's new path. Admiral Su-Young Lee stood on the observation deck of Earth's first interstellar embassy, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive in peace. Some came to trade. Others came to share scientific knowledge. A few came simply to see the species that had changed the galaxy forever. Admiral, her aide reported, we have a delegation from the Terran Mining Guild requesting permission to establish operations in the Vega system. Granted. What else? The medical research station at Alpha Centauri reports a breakthrough in neural regeneration therapy. They're requesting permission to share the data with our new allies. Also granted. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. The Galactic Defense Force reports that 3 more systems have requested to join the Federation. And, the aide paused, smiling. Former Ambassador Velthar has requested a meeting. He says he wants to discuss representing his people in the Federation Senate. Su-Young laughed. The proud alien who had once demanded Earth's surrender now wanted to join the government humanity had created. Schedule the meeting, she said. It seems our former enemy is learning about democracy. She looked out at the stars, thinking about how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone in the galaxy, hiding their strength and preparing for war. Now they were part of a growing alliance of free species, working together to build something better than what had come before. The Galactic Council had ruled through fear for 50,000 years. But fear only worked until someone was brave enough to fight back. And when humanity finally revealed itself, the galaxy discovered something it had almost forgotten. Freedom was stronger than fear. Cooperation was more powerful than conquest. And sometimes, when a bully finally met someone willing to stand up to them, the bully learned that there was a better way to live. The ambassador who had once demanded Earth's surrender was now learning to ask for votes instead of demanding obedience. The species that had enslaved others for millennia were discovering the benefits of willing partnership. And humanity, the species that had once hidden in fear of discovery, was now leading the galaxy toward a future none of them had imagined possible. When the Galactic Council had demanded Earth's surrender, humanity had laughed. Not because they were foolish or unprepared, but because they knew something the Council had forgotten in 50,000 years of easy victories. Sometimes, the best response to a bully's demands is simply to say no, and then to show them why no was the right answer all along.